You are eating wrong without knowing it. The shocking truth that no one tells you. Do you believe that you are eating the right way? Are you sure your diet contains everything your body really needs? What if I told you that most people are making a serious mistake without realizing it? Many people believe that by eating in a balanced way, they are providing the body with everything it needs. But the truth is that a crucial detail may be going unnoticed. Dietary diversity. If you always eat the same foods, you may be accumulating certain nutrients in excess and missing other essential ones. This is like having a car with a powerful engine, but not enough fuel to run. Also, have you ever stopped to think if everything you've been taught about fat, carbohydrates, and cholesterol is really true? Today, we're going to demystify the biggest mistakes in food and reveal what really matters to your health. Let's get started. What happens to your body when you don't vary your diet? Imagine that you eat rice, beans, and meat every day. Sounds like a balanced meal, right? But is this really enough to provide all the nutrients your body needs? When the diet is monotonous, you end up always receiving the same nutrients and leaving aside others equally essential. This can lead to silent nutrient deficiencies, which over time begin to affect your health without you even realizing it. Your body needs a wide variety of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to function well. Fruits, vegetables, protein, healthy fats, and quality carbohydrates play key roles in metabolism, immunity, and even mental health. If you ignore this diversity, you may experience constant fatigue, hair loss, brittle nails, and even develop chronic diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular problems. In addition, a repetitive diet can harm your gut flora. The gut is home to trillions of beneficial bacteria, which need different types of fiber and nutrients to stay healthy. When dietary diversity is low, these bacteria can become unbalanced, favoring inflammation and even harming your immune system. And here's an important detail. The human body is like a puzzle, where each piece represents an essential nutrient. If only one piece is missing, the picture will never be complete. Now, if varying your diet is so important, why do so many people continue to stick to the same eating habits? The answer may lie in convenience and lack of information. But the good news is that small changes can already make a big difference. In the next topic, we will reveal a little-known secret that can transform your health, the importance of food variety, and how to apply it in your daily life in a practical way. The secret that few people know about food variety. Have you ever heard the phrase, "Eat a little bit of everything"? This simple recommendation can be the key to a balanced diet and a healthier life. But what does it really mean to have a varied diet? Our body needs a wide range of nutrients to function well. Proteins, carbohydrates, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals are essential for keeping the metabolism active, strengthening the immune system, and preventing disease. But it is not enough to just consume these food groups. It is necessary to diversify them. For example, if you always eat the same protein sources, such as chicken and beef, you may be missing out on the benefits of fish, eggs, and legumes. The same goes for fruits and vegetables. Each color represents a different set of nutrients and antioxidants. An effective strategy to ensure food variety is to follow the concept of the colorful plate. The more colors on your plate, the greater the diversity of nutrients ingested. Dark vegetables are rich in iron and calcium. Orange fruits have beta-carotene, and purple foods contain powerful antioxidants that fight cellular aging. In addition, dietary variation also impacts your gut health. Consuming different types of fiber, present in grains, seeds, and vegetables, favors the growth of good bacteria in the intestine, improving digestion, immunity, and even nutrient absorption. But then, why do so many people continue to be stuck with repetitive eating? Often it is due to convenience, lack of knowledge, or even the cost of healthier foods. However, including new ingredients in your routine doesn't have to be difficult or expensive. Want to know what really influences weight gain and how to avoid food traps? In the next topic, we will unravel one of the most widespread myths in nutrition. Does fat really make you fat? What really makes you fat? Is fat really the villain? For years, we heard that consuming fat was the main cause of weight gain and cardiovascular problems. But is this belief really true? Or have we been deceived for decades? The truth is that fat is not the great villain of food. The real responsible for the accumulation of body fat is the excessive consumption of refined and ultra-processed carbohydrates. This happens because carbohydrates are quickly converted into blood glucose. When there is an excess of glucose, the body releases large amounts of insulin to balance sugar levels. The problem is that insulin also stimulates fat storage, transforming this excess glucose into adipose tissue. Healthy fats, such as those present in olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fish, perform essential functions in the body. They participate in hormone production, protect neurons, help in the absorption of vitamins, and even increase satiety, avoiding overeating meals. The big mistake of most people is in the uncontrolled consumption of simple carbohydrates, such as white bread, pasta, cookies, and soft drinks. These foods skyrocket blood sugar levels and create an addictive cycle of starvation and fat storage. But if fats are not the villains, why have they been demonized for so long? The answer lies in old and misinterpreted studies. For decades, it was believed that high levels of cholesterol, derived from fat, were responsible for heart disease. But today, new research shows that this is not the case. And speaking of cholesterol, in the next topic, we will reveal one of the biggest myths in nutrition. Is cholesterol really bad for you? Or is it essential for your health? What are the consequences of a diet based on ultra-processed foods? Ultra-processed foods can be practical and tasty, but in the long run, they can wreak havoc on your health. Rich in chemical additives, sugars, and harmful fats, they increase the risk of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and even intestinal disorders. In addition, they negatively impact the gut microbiome, compromising your immunity and well-being. Is it worth trading health for convenience? Your body deserves more. Cheap food may be making you pay a high price. That cheap fast food can cost a lot more than it seems. Ultra-processed and nutrient-poor foods can lead to health problems such as obesity, hypertension, and diabetes, resulting in sky-high spending on medicines and doctors in the future. Cheap is expensive when it comes to your body. Is it worth saving on the plate and paying the price in health? The biggest myth about cholesterol that needs to be debunked. For years, cholesterol was treated as a villain. Doctors and nutritionists warned about the risks of its increase, directly associating it with heart disease. But is this story really true? Or have we been led to believe in a great scientific misconception? What few know is that cholesterol is essential for the functioning of the body. It is present in the membrane of all cells, participates in the production of hormones such as testosterone and estrogen, and is essential for the synthesis of vitamin D. In addition, a quarter of all cholesterol in the body is concentrated in the brain, where it plays a crucial role in memory and cognition. But if cholesterol is so important, why has it been demonized? The origin of this confusion comes from old studies that linked high levels of cholesterol in the blood with the risk of heart attack. However, these studies did not consider other factors, such as inflammation, oxidative stress, and the quality of the diet as a whole. The big problem is not the cholesterol itself, but the oxidation of bad cholesterol, LDL. When it suffers damage from a diet high in sugars and ultra-processed foods, it can become a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. In other words, it is not cholesterol that is bad, but an inflammatory lifestyle that impairs its action in the body. Still, millions of people take cholesterol-lowering drugs unnecessarily, simply because traditional medicine has followed a model that has been outdated for decades. The pharmaceutical industry, in turn, profits billions from these drugs, maintaining the idea that high cholesterol is an imminent danger. But do you really need to worry about your cholesterol levels? And what tests are essential to assess your cardiovascular health? In the next topic, we will reveal which tests you should do to find out if cholesterol is really a problem for you. What tests should we do to assess cholesterol levels? If you've ever had a blood test, you've probably received a result with numbers for total cholesterol, HDL, and LDL. But are these values enough to determine if your cardiovascular health is at risk? Many people believe that it is enough to have total cholesterol below 200 milligrams per deciliter to be out of danger. However, this superficial analysis can lead to mistaken diagnoses. After all, cholesterol is just one piece of the puzzle. The first step towards a more accurate assessment is to look at the relationship between HDL cholesterol, the so-called good cholesterol, and LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol. More important than the absolute number of LDL is to check if it is oxidized, as it is this oxidation that can cause inflammation in the arteries. Another essential test is the advanced lipid profile, which evaluates the size and density of LDL particles. Studies show that small, dense LDL particles are more dangerous than large, fluffy particles, as they adhere more easily to artery walls. In addition, an often overlooked but crucial test for assessing cardiovascular risk is ultrasensitive C-reactive protein, HSCRP. This test measures the level of inflammation in the body, which is a much more relevant risk factor for heart disease than cholesterol alone. Another important marker is homocysteine, an amino acid that, when elevated, can indicate an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Unfortunately, this test is rarely ordered, but it can provide valuable information about heart health. And finally, one of the most modern and revealing tests is the coronary calcium score. It uses tomography to detect calcium plaques in the arteries, being one of the best indicators to assess the real risk of a heart attack. In other words, relying only on total cholesterol can be a mistake. If you want to know if your cardiovascular health is at risk, you need to look at the full picture. But could the food we consume daily be sabotaging our health without us realizing it? In the next topic, we will talk about a food hazard that almost no one associates with cardiovascular risk. What does mad cow disease have to do with your diet? What does mad cow disease have to do with your diet? It may seem like a subject far from your routine, but mad cow disease has a lot to teach us about the mistakes we make in food. This problem arose when cows, which are naturally herbivorous, began to be fed bone meal and the remains of other animals. The result? A devastating disease caused by abnormal proteins called prions. Now think, if a cow can get sick when consuming something that is not part of its natural diet, what happens when humans do the same? The truth is that many of the foods we consume today are not natural for our body. We eat absurd amounts of ultra-processed products, full of chemical additives, hidden sugars, and artificial fats. This alters the functioning of our body, in the same way that it happened to cows in the epidemic of mad cow disease. Another important point is that over the last few decades, the food industry has drastically changed the composition of food. Wheat, for example, has undergone numerous genetic changes to increase its productivity. The result? An exponential increase in the presence of gluten, making it much more difficult for our body to digest. In addition, the excess consumption of processed meats, such as sausages and fast foods, has severe inflammatory effects, damaging the intestine, liver, and cardiovascular system. The lesson here is simple. The further we move away from natural food, the more health problems arise. And the key to avoiding this lies not only in cutting out bad foods, but also in adopting smarter eating practices. In the next topic, we will talk about a secret of the Japanese that can be the key to a longer and healthier life. Hara hachi, the technique that can transform your diet. The Japanese simple trick to live longer and better. Have you heard of Hara hachi? This is an ancient eating practice that may be one of the secrets of longevity for the Japanese, especially the inhabitants of the island of Okinawa, where life expectancy is among the highest in the world. But after all, what does Hara hachi mean? The translation is simple. Eat until you are 80% satisfied. This means that instead of eating until they feel completely full, the Japanese stop a little earlier, leaving a small space in their stomach. This practice reduces digestive stress, improves nutrient absorption, and prevents excessive calorie consumption. And science confirms this strategy. Studies show that moderate calorie restriction can reduce the risks of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even some cancers. In addition, this technique improves insulin sensitivity and can slow cellular aging. But why does it work so well? It takes the human body a few minutes to process the feeling of satiety. When we eat until our belly is full, we have often already exceeded the necessary limit. Stopping before reaching this point prevents overeating and keeps the metabolism working efficiently. In addition, Hara hachi encourages a habit that many people overlook: eating slowly. When we chew food well and give our body time to process the meal, we avoid binge eating and improve digestion. This technique may seem simple, but it requires discipline. We are used to eating large portions and treating food as an immediate pleasure, without realizing that excess may be harming us. Now, imagine combining this practice with another powerful health ally: intermittent fasting. In the next topic, we will find out what science really says about this eating strategy that has been gaining more and more followers. Intermittent fasting. Science or fad? Find out the truth. In recent years, intermittent fasting has become one of the most discussed topics in the area of health and nutrition. Some people swear that it improves mood, speeds up metabolism, and even helps prevent diseases. But is this really true, or just another fad? The practice of fasting is not new. Our ancestors did not have constant access to food and therefore went long periods without eating. The human body has evolved to cope well with the absence of food for a few hours or even days, activating mechanisms that improve energy efficiency and cellular repair. Science confirms the benefits of intermittent fasting. Studies show that it can reduce insulin resistance, helping with glucose control and preventing type 2 diabetes. Increase autophagy, a cellular recycling process that can help prevent neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Improve cardiovascular health by reducing triglyceride levels and oxidative stress. Assist in weight loss as the body starts to use stored fat as an energy source. But does intermittent fasting work for everyone? Not always. Some people may experience fatigue, decreased physical performance, and even increased hunger when they try this strategy without guidance. Ideally, each person should find an appropriate protocol, which can vary between fasts of 12, 14, 16, or even 24 hours. Another important point: what you eat outside of the fasting period is just as important as the fasting itself. There is no point in fasting for 16 hours, and in the eating window, consuming ultra-processed products, refined sugars, and fried foods. If done right, fasting can be a powerful tool for health. But if it is applied in the wrong way, it can become a risk. And speaking of food risks, there's a silent villain that may be destroying your health without you even realizing it: gluten. In the next topic, we'll reveal the hidden dangers of this protein and how it may be affecting your body. Gluten, the silent enemy that may be blasting your health. The warm bread for breakfast, the dough for lunch, and that crunchy cookie in the afternoon. For many people, these foods are part of their daily lives, but what few know is that the gluten present in them can be causing serious damage to health, and silently. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, rye, and barley. While some people consume these foods without apparent symptoms, others may develop digestive problems, inflammation, and even autoimmune diseases. The big problem with gluten is that it contains a protein called gliadin, which, when it reaches the intestine, can trigger an inflammatory process. In sensitive people, gluten can increase the production of zonulin, a protein that alters intestinal permeability, allowing unwanted substances to enter the bloodstream. This phenomenon, known as leaky gut, can contribute to the development of diseases such as arthritis, Hashimoto's, thyroid disease, migraines, and even depression. But the problems do not stop there. The gluten we consume today is not the same as it was decades ago. Wheat has undergone genetic modifications that have increased the amount of gluten in the grains, making it more difficult to digest. This means that even people who have never had a problem with gluten can develop sensitivities over time. Gluten intolerance varies from person to person. While some experience immediate symptoms such as bloating and abdominal pain, others can suffer from chronic fatigue, skin problems, and cognitive difficulties without ever suspecting the real culprit. If you experience digestive discomfort, excessive tiredness, or any other unexplained symptoms, you may want to test the removal of gluten from your diet for a few weeks and observe the changes. But if you think you need bread to have a balanced diet, you may need to know a powerful food that has been unjustly condemned for years: the egg. In the next topic, will reveal why this superfood should be present in your diet every day. The powerful food they've cheated you on for years. For a long time, the egg was unjustly accused of being a food villain. Many believed that it increased cholesterol and was bad for the heart. But the truth is that this food is one of the most nutritious in the world and should be present in everyone's diet. The egg is a true nutrient capsule. It contains high-quality proteins, essential vitamins A, D, E, K, B12, minerals such as iron and zinc, and powerful antioxidants such as lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect the eyes against degenerative diseases. In addition, the choline present in egg yolk is essential for brain health, helping with memory and concentration. But what about the cholesterol present in the egg? New research shows that dietary cholesterol has little impact on blood cholesterol for most people. The real problem lies in the excessive consumption of refined carbohydrates and sugars, which increase triglyceride levels and lead to cardiovascular problems. Another common mistake is the fear of the yolk. Many people spent years consuming only egg whites, believing that the yolk was harmful. But the reality is that most of the nutrients are precisely in the yolk, while the white basically contains protein. To make the most of the benefits of the egg, the best way to consume it is boiled or poached, as frying can degrade its nutrients and create inflammatory compounds. If you still have doubts about including eggs in your diet, just remember that they are one of the most complete sources of protein that exist, with all the essential amino acids that the body needs. Now that we have unraveled so many myths about food, the question arises: how to apply this knowledge in everyday life to transform your health? In the next and last topic, we will give you a motivational boost for you to take the first step towards a healthier and more balanced life. It's time to transform your diet and your life. Now that you know the truth about food, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Will you keep repeating the same mistakes, or will you take the first step to transform your health? Changing habits is not easy, but every small choice makes a difference. Varying foods, avoiding ultra-processed foods, understanding the real role of cholesterol, adopting practices such as intermittent fasting, and reducing gluten consumption are attitudes that can impact your quality of life in the long term. Remember, it's not about miracle diets or impossible restrictions, but about making conscious and sustainable choices. Your body is the reflection of what you put inside it every day. How about starting now? Adopt a simple change today, whether it's introducing a new nutritious food, trying Hara hachi, or just observing how your body reacts to what you eat. Small actions lead to big results. The decision is in your hands. Your health and your future depend on the choices you make at each meal.